Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Difference Maker podcast. I'm your host, Matt Calderoni. No Chris today. Chris is actually off doing some other stuff, but I've got a very special guest today, my dear friend, Nuno Santos. Nuno and I met a while back. We'll kind of get into that today, but Nuno's done some fantastic things, especially in the football world. And I'm really excited to kind of bring this interview to everybody that tunes into this show because, there's going to be a lot of good stuff today in regards to just mindset around coaching. We're going to be talking about a little bit about Nuno's experience with the great Jose Mourinho. We're also going to be talking about the goalkeeper's mindset as well. We're going to be talking about youth development mindset. So there's a lot of good stuff coming into it, but long and short, Nuno was a professional goalkeeper. He used to play. He'll tell you a bit about that in a bit. But then he turned into now one of the best goalkeeper coaches we could say on the planet, and does a lot of great things. He started off coaching in different leagues and lower leagues, and then made his way into France, which we'll talk about. Made his way into the infamous Tottenham, and you could check him out on Netflix. He's in that, on Prime in that All or Nothing episode in that series. And then he also found his way over to AS Roma, which is where we're going to be talking a little bit about today. But I'm excited to have Nuno on the show because Nuno offers a wide variety, we'll say, of expertise from not only just being a player, but being a coach and also being a parent, which is something that's really important to a lot of the viewers that we have here. So Nuno, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on. I'm glad we could finally find some time for it, which is really good. But yeah, take it away. Tell us a little bit about who you are. Give us the viewers some context and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Matthew. First of all, thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure for me, after all these years, we met and you've been in touch. Share some thoughts, have the opportunity, have this conversation with you and share a little bit of my experience.
Yeah. And sorry, just to say, I think we met back, 2015? Must have been?
Yes, around that. Yes.
Because you were goalkeeper coaching for Team Canada at that time.
Yes, at that time. I started working with the Canadian national team, with the youth and with the men's program in Canada.
That's right. Okay. So take us through a bit of your playing career, introduce yourself to our viewers, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'm from Portugal. I started playing when I had 10 years old at local team, first division team, Vitória Setúbal in Portugal. I play all the youth program, and then after that I joined with the first team. A couple of loans, from Vitória Setúbal to the second division teams, and after when I get my experience, as a goalkeeper, as a young goalkeeper, I returned to my main club and I started playing with the first team. With the first team, the things went very well, and I do 2 seasons in a row in the first division in Portugal. It went very well, and from there I signed from Leeds United in Premier League at that time. This is in 1998.
Wow. Okay.
I stayed there for a year. Fantastic experience in Premier League at a younger age with 25 years old. Mm-hmm. It was fantastic for me.
And sorry, that was 25 years old, you said?
When I was 25 years old, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, about 25 years ago.
That's it.
Exactly.
And then after Leeds, where'd you go from there?
I returned to Portugal, because I have the opportunity for sign with Benfica, one of the top clubs in the world, and I joined there for a few seasons, a couple of low ones also, and finally returned to Benfica, play there a couple of games, and after that, I played for so many different countries. Different places. I play in Portugal, I play in Spain, I play in the US, in Canada, and after that I returned to Europe and I finished my career in Cyprus with 39 years old. In total, it's
wow.
23 years professional level playing as a goalkeeper.
Wow. So let me ask you this, because I think this is, I want to kick right off into this. And then, sorry, so once you retired, really quickly, how many years off did you take from, let's say, playing, and then when did you get into coaching?
Right after,
Okay.
As soon as I finished play with 39 years old, I started coaching right away. First, I have experience with 1 year in Portugal, second division team, and after that, I start with the Canadian national team. But I'll be honest with you, for the last years, we say 6-7 years, I've been preparing myself for being a goalkeeper coach. At that time, I still play, but I prepare myself because it's something I saw for me in the future. opportunity for becoming a goalkeeper coach.
I love that. So let's dive right into this part then, because I think this is important. You, as a player first, you experience many different mindsets yourself, from Portugal to then Leeds to then, all over the place. What have you noticed was the biggest shift in your own perspective that you had to make from going, let's say, from a Portuguese team to an English team, which we know naturally it's like any player making a jump, right? It's a different mentality altogether. Tell us a little bit about just the difference in mentality that you had to have when you were going over there.
Yeah, first of all, is a big difference in terms of the culture.
Okay.
Portugal is completely different from the English culture, and as you know, we need to adapt. If I go to another country for another team, I need to adapt myself as fast as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And especially at that time, I don't even speak one word in English, and it's tough. But the language of football is universal, and you adapt very easily.
Yeah.
I feel very very welcome, in England at Leeds, and like I say, you need to adapt quickly, quickly you can,
Yeah.
because in football, you cannot wait so long.
Mm-hmm.
When I arrived there, I try that fast as I can. Try learn, the language, try learn the culture, try learn the mentality of the English Premier League, and be honest with you, the things went very well, because we need to adapt, and and at that time and even today depend from ourselves.
Yeah.
You don't depend to another people, you
Yeah.
depend from you, and I need to adapt, and I just focus, in my sessions. After the sessions, training sessions, I analyze myself. At that time, you don't have the video like you have today. You don't have the tools like we have today. But I try get the feedback from the teammates. I
Mm-hmm.
try have the feedback from the coaches, and adapt and improve.
Yeah. And it's funny too that you say that, especially about the lifestyle side. And I think that's something a lot of times, because we see it with all the athletes we deal with, from NBA, NHL, football, everything. But it's funny, like a lot of players talk about, even when they have to transition over to a different team or a different culture or whatever, the food aspect even of how different it is, right? And what you're used to eating even before a match or eating before a performance, and then what time dinner is at or lunch is at or breakfast is at. Like, it's the little nuances I don't think we realize. Like, language is a big thing, right? But something as small as meal timings and how you get together for meals and stuff, it really impacts the mentality of just a player and how well they feel going into performances. So,
Yeah, I give just one edge. In terms of you touching a good point in terms of nutrition. It's
mm,
completely different at that time from Portugal to England. Now, you know, every country in Europe, and I believe in North America also, is very similar. But
yeah.
at that time, the culture is so different, and the mentality about how you approach the game, how you prepare yourself for the game.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, in England, when you arrive there, nutrition is like the English guys, eat everything the guys want, no restrictions. And I come from a country, from Portugal, they have a lot of restrictions,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the day game. And I just continue to do my routines because I feel good about that. And you
Yeah.
just keep the balance because, you adapt to them, but also if you think you are in a good way, you are in the positive way, you're doing the things correct. And at that time, I think I stay one step ahead of them because at that time in Portugal, you already have like a meal specific before the game,
Yeah.
a meal specific after the game. And I just, continue my routines because I think it's the right way. And
Mm-hmm.
even some of the guys, start following.
Yeah. And the difference then, obviously, going to England was, like you said, they kind of just did at the time however they wanted, whatever they wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. At
Interesting.
that time, is special like that, completely different. But,
Much
the guys
different.
good about that. But the funny thing, after all these years, I see the English Premier League, the guys at this moment, eat exactly like the same you eat at that time in Portugal,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And what was it at that time in Portugal that you guys ate like that was, let's say, more ahead? Because I know Italian culture, it's similar, right?
Even today, our nutrition compared to my time, like 25 years ago, is completely
Mm.
different. But at that time, we don't eat too much carbohydrates.
Mm.
We don't eat too much before the game. And the culture of them is like eat much as you can, for feel ready to the game. Here in Portugal is completely different. For prepare a game, you don't eat too much. You eat just the right portion of meal, be ready for start the game, for the kickoff 3 hours before the game. You have a little bit sugar here, a little bit sugar there, because that's why I believe at that time it's important for us.
So it was more so like it was just there were the right amounts for the right times, and that's what it was.
Yes, exactly. The right amount, the timing, and the portion of the food. And at that, the guys don't even care about the portion. It seems like more portion in the plate, more competitive you are in the pitch.
That's it. More potatoes, the better, right? That's what
Exactly.
it is. Well, very good. So pivoting from there, then, so let's talk about it. Getting right into coaching, first job that you had after playing professionally, where was that at?
Yeah, I started in Portugal as a second division team, Sporting Club France. I get my first experience actually when I have the opportunity, for start put, on practice all my knowledge about this specific position, be a goalkeeper coach. And I get my diplomas, I get my diploma UEFA Pro as a head coach. I get my diplomas as a UEFA A goalkeeping coach, is the maximum level you can have, in the world. And when I put that all together, I just start, with the team. It went very well, and from there, I just get the job with the Canadian national team with Tony Fonseca. Give me the opportunity for start with the Canadian national team, because at the time he was a technical director from the youth program and the men's team. And from there, I was there for 6 years. I'm very thankful, I have that opportunity for work with the Canadian national team. Yeah. Another time, different culture, different experience, different atmosphere, new adaptation.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, so did you know Tony from before when you went over there?
Yes,
Canada?
because I actually, we have like a few years difference, but I play against Tony a couple times. And that's why, we met before. And when he saw I have, my diplomas, I'm ready to go, he just gave me my first opportunity overseas.
And then from Canada is where you jumped to Lille, correct?
Yes. The things went very well, and then from Canada, I jumped to Lille. It's a big step from Canadian national team, from a national team to a big team in Europe, in France, from Lille. I was there for 2 years. The things went very well, and from France, I joined with the staff with Jose Mourinho at Tottenham. And when I stayed there for 2 years, and after that, 3 years in Rome, it just finished right now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was going to say, so I think this is really interesting too, especially for a lot of people that tune in. So you had the pleasure then, let's talk about it for a sec. You had the mindset yourself when you were a goalkeeper. You had the pleasure then of seeing what the North American, Canadian mindset was like of a goalkeeper. You saw the jump then where in Lille you worked with the great, now great and great at the time too, but Mike Maignan, right? Who's now jumped to AC Milan. Then you go and jump and you get to see someone like Hugo Lloris and a bunch of players over there. And not even just like the goalkeeper's mindset, but the players as well. And then you go and jump to a team like AS Roma, where you get to see, of course, the great Rui Patricio and all these, players as well and top ballers. So let's start with Canada to, let's say, Europe, because I think just to give some credit and praise to our viewers that tune in, we have a lot of Canadian people that look at it. What are you noticing, just to start with this, has been the big difference in mindset, if you will, between a goalkeeper from Canada coming to a goalkeeper, let's say, like a Mike Maignan or, a Hugo Lloris or any of these players?
I know very well, the Canadian goalkeepers and the mentality of the North American players in terms of football, because I worked with them for 6 years.
Yep.
I was a player in Portugal, in Europe. I was a coach in Portugal, in North America. And the potential of the keepers and the players in North America is huge potential. I think for me, the bigger problem is in terms of the adaptation.
Interesting.
Because it's a huge difference between North America and Europe. In specific, speak about football, about soccer, in special, when you go for a goalkeeper, is a specific position. It demands a lot in terms of psychology. If you're not strong enough, if you're not prepared enough, you're going to have a lot of difficulties. And it's very, very, very important you adapt fast as you can. And comes from you. You cannot expect, become just for the coaches. It comes from your teammates. It becomes from you. What you want from your career, what do you want to achieve, when you arrive in Europe. You must set goals, a short term, medium term, and long term. That is my thoughts on that.
And that's what you think there's a little bit of a difference with the mentality of the North American versus European, let's say?
Yes, I say yes. In the generation now, I see, even the players in Europe, the goalkeepers in Europe, you still have now more difficult, for me become a professional because everything has changed now. Social media, the way you conduct ourselves, the lifestyle. If you're not strong enough, if you don't set your goals, if you don't commit 100% to this game, it's impossible to achieve, the success. Because I work with different goalkeepers, and the goalkeepers I work and the goalkeepers I saw achieve the best of them is the ones, are more prepared for that, is the ones prepare more self, individual and collectively for achieve their goals.
And because I think you and I were talking about it at one point in a different combo we were having, but you were saying there was one summer actually with Mike Maignan where he said I might go to America to train. And you said, if you want, though, you should stay back here. And I think you should do a little bit better here. So just help educate people tuning in, like why you made that call and what you felt was maybe a little bit different. Not to say that you have to tell about any of the work, but what was your mindset behind that move you made? Because it obviously benefited him tremendously, even though he put in the work, but it was your guidance, right? So what was it within you that made you want to kind of help him with that decision?
Yeah, because it's funny because we speak now about just with the goalkeepers and also with the players, but just with goalkeepers,
Yeah.
I think this for all the athletes. And you say you have the footballers in North America, the goalkeepers in North America, you have a dream, come play in Europe because believe that is the best environment in the world.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
And the players in Europe, you have the dream of the lifestyle in North America.
Interesting. So like they want to live like the North American athlete.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly. And the players from North America, you want to play in Europe and you have that dream, you want to have that lifestyle of the European player,
Yes.
It's funny because the European players, you don't have the North America lifestyle.
Yes.
And when you see, on off season, you have, many players more often off season come to North America, have holidays, and prepare themselves for the next season.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a kind of, it's tricky, because you come in holidays, it's okay. If you come in holidays and have to prepare yourself in a completely different environment, like you cannot, in my opinion, like you come in North America for holidays, you enjoy that lifestyle. When it comes to time to work, you need to go back to Europe and prepare yourself.
Interesting.
Because of the difference.
Yeah. And with Mike, that's what you were saying with him. It was, hey, you can go have your vacation if you want, but you need to come back here if you really want to have the preparation that you need in order to get to your next level.
Exactly. Because it's the same. Like, you have one player from North America. You want to play in Europe, okay? And you want to prepare himself in North America. No.
Yeah.
You need to go back to because I have some players, some goalkeepers I worked before. And the guys have been all season in Europe, back to North America, have his holidays, and the guys want to make the preparation, in North America. And after, when the guys arrive in Europe, it's completely different. You must that gap of the adaptation, and that gap is like you need to travel before start the season, get yourself ready on the perfect environment, where you're going to play all season.
Yeah,
that is my.
That's interesting because And it's funny, I think we spoke about this before, but with like NBA players we work with and the lifestyle that a lot of those footballers chase, which is like replicating that mentality, right? And it's just interesting because I think you hit on a very good point there, but returning to the environment you're going to be training or playing in the upcoming season. I think that's one of the most misunderstood concepts for a lot of athletes. And it's funny because when we work with a lot that have to do with prepping for the season and building confidence for the season coming up, it's like there's really two things or three things, sorry, that we say add up to like building confidence. And we always say it, like confidence starts physically before it starts mentally. This is what people don't realize sometimes. Like when you see that you can get the result and that you can actually do something because you physically have the abilities to do so, you build the confidence for it, right? And it's interesting because I think a lot of times players think they can do in an off season, let's say I'm going to take a 4-week vacation. And in that 4-week vacation, though, I'm going to be training when I'm away. And it's like, well, the training when you're away is not going to be what it's like if you had, let's say, a 2-week vacation, but those 2 other weeks you returned home and you were in a focused environment that allow you to really lock into what you need to do.
Exactly.
And it's interesting because I think that's where, again, a lot of players, I've seen it for the good and the bad, especially from a mental side from working with them. On the good, you have a couple of these individuals who will absolutely lock in, do everything they need to do, create the environment around them to make sure they're replicating what's going to happen in a season. And they start hot and they finish hot. Then I see on the other side where some players maybe try to, we'll call it, adapt a little more than they should, and they end up having a late start to their season and they kind of dip off. That's a very important kind of insight to take from this conversation right now, because a lot of athletes that I see going through it, we want to make sure that we're coming into things prepared in the best way possible. Like there's an athlete we work with, one of the many, but Kyle Kuzma in the NBA. He's fantastic at doing this. And he's a guy that if you look at him, he has the typical big, amazing NBA lifestyle. But Kyle also understands, to your point with Mike, when it's time to come home, it's time to come home. And I think that's the difference between those who sometimes do it great and sometimes don't. Even Larry Markkinen that we see in the NBA, right? It's like he knows when it's time to come home, it's time to come home. And I think that's a major point to kind of take if you're going to get your game and take that to the next level. So I love that. So then what about with Hugo Lloris? Like let's talk about Hugo versus Mike, even, let's say, to some degree. What are the differences, we'll call it, in philosophies that you see between the two? Because I'm sure a lot of our viewers would love to know that.
You know, the big thing I saw in some of them, like I work with, for me, one of the top goalkeepers in the world, like Mike Magna, Hugo Lloris, Rui Patricio. What I saw in common in all of them is the mentality.
Okay.
The mentality, and the desire, to win. When I saw these 3 goalkeepers, I start to understand you have something, all of them you have in common. Is the mentality, and the guys are very hard workers. And all of them, the guys set goals, like I said before, short term, medium term, and long term. All of them different ages. One more younger, Mike Mania. Ugo is more experienced. Rui Patricio, the kind in between 2 of them.
Yeah.
But the 3 of them is like, I tell you, Matt, is about mentality. The guys are so focused. 3 different goalkeepers, 3 different personalities. But the guys are so focused, so committed to the game. Start with the mentality, preparation, set the goals, nutrition, preparation for the game. Completely, focus in every single practice in the games. Concentration. We speak about that before. It's very, 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 very rare. You see, the players very focused. Like when you start to set, even when the guys arrive on the training pitch, you can see, the guys are set to go. Even when the guys arrive on the training center, you can see right away. What I saw in common in all of them, is the mindset. It's very, very, very important to them.
So let's talk about it. We'll zone in on each of them. Let's start with Mike. So what was the competitiveness like with a guy like Mike?
Mike, Mike is one goalkeeper. He focuses just in himself.
Okay.
Just focusing on himself. He's very demanding with himself, very critical with himself. is he just care about himself and he don't care about no one. He just focus on him, and of course, he try help the team much as he can.
Mm-hmm.
Hugo Lloris, different mentality. He's a goalkeeper. When you look at him on a daily basis, he's more relaxed, more open to each other. But when the coach go to start the training session, he's committed to the game, and that's it. His focus is there, and he give his massing with all the concentration. Rui Patricio is one goalkeeper. It's like you have a little bit the two of them. He's a guy can be, also, relaxed guy, very, very open with the teammates.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to training sessions, he's become like switch on, and that's it. He's a different mood. When you finish training session, switch off, he can be the relaxed guy again. It's very interesting because he's three top goalkeepers, and three of them, you have different ways to approach, this beautiful game.
Yeah. And that's interesting because I want to tag on the second point to it. And we spoke about it before, but so knowing their personalities, we'll call it, and their competitiveness, you mentioned before that you knew when you had to communicate and how to communicate to them in certain ways. So with a guy like Mike, like when could you give him the feedback that he needed versus Hugo versus Rui Patricio, sorry.
Yeah, with Mike, he's a guy who likes, analyze like deep, his performance. He's a guy, you want to see over and over and over and speak about his performance in the game.
So he like obsessed over it.
Yes. He's obsessed with the small details. He's a guy you want to analyze, his games, his training sessions. Also, before that, in terms of preparation of the game, he's going to the maximum detail. Hugo Lloris is a goalkeeper, in my point of view, he pay attention in everything. He listen to, but the way we approach the things is very smooth. Every information you give to him gets solved right away. You don't need to ask too many questions. You don't need to go so deep, to the analysis of the game, because it's a guy like he feels comfortable with that. He say, okay, I'm comfortable with this. I don't need to go more deep because I understand exactly what the coach wants for the game.
Yeah.
Rui Patricio is a keeper. Is open to the discussion. It's open to listen. But you don't go over, at the deep analyzation. It's a goalkeeper, we don't need give him too much information because he knows exactly what he's going to do, and we don't need to give him too much feedback. You don't need to give him too much information because he understands and he knows what we need from there in the game.
So he was more like surface level, like just tell me what to do and I'm going to go do it. Hugo was more like, tell me specifically for me what you like and what you don't, and I'll go change it. And then Mike was more of the type where it was, I'm going to go deep, analyze everything. I'm going to talk to you about it. I'm going to obsess over it. And then once I do that, I'll take what I need from it and go from there. So Mike was almost like he could regulate himself. Hugo liked a bit of a balance. And then, Rui Patricio, sorry, he was able to just kind of, you tell him what to do and he'll go do it.
Yes, exactly. You see like three top goalkeepers at the top level in the world of football, and three of them, with different mentality. But all of them, I can be honest with you, what I like for three of them, the guys are very focused, very concentrated in the game, and the guys are very, very professional. That for me is like, for them, this one makes the three of them, for me, one of the best goalkeepers in the world.
And I think this is a very, very important point for anybody tuning in who is coaching in any way, because like even just what you described there, you have three top goalkeepers all across the world here, right? All have their own experiences, all have their own proven success and track record of it, but three guys who all focus, at the end of the day, they focus on the one thing, but they do so in different manners. I think this is where a lot of people get it wrong, because the big icon, for example, of mental toughness, people often look to either Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, right? That's the big poster child. And it's, at least in North America, more. And it's even in Europe, I see Mamba mentality. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think what people get wrong, and I used to do this myself when I used to be an athlete, and it's why we got into this business, but you often think like, what does Michael Jordan do when he focuses before a game? Well, for example, let's look at Mike Mignon. If you were to tell me who I relate to with the most, it's Mike. I'm that kind of a guy. I obsess, I'm detailed, I like numbers, I like focusing in on things, I digest it all, and then I'm able to go make a decision of what I need to do. I'm not like Hugo. I'm definitely not like Rui Patricio in any way. But for me, that's what works for me. And this is, I think, where sometimes coaches even get it wrong themselves, where it's one approach has to, this is the right way. It's like, well, to be honest, what the right way is based on the end result, which is the player. And if you understand what your player needs more than what you want to do yourself, and you're able to kind of drop your own ego, which it sounds like you're able to do very well, Nuno, and focus on the player itself, you get the best results out of them, right? Like as coaches, we're more so leaders and people of inspiration than we are people who must command something from somebody.
I tell you, for me as a goalkeeper coach,
Yep.
I need to adapt to them fast as I can.
Yes.
And I'll be honest with you, depends from the coach.
Hmm.
Depends how you approach the goalkeeper. You must adapt to them, and of course, the goalkeepers have to need to adapt to you.
Yeah.
Not just in terms of tactics, not just terms in technique, or tactics. Psychology part is the number one, is the priority. The way you approach the keeper, the way you speak with them. Because I cannot speak with the three of them the same way.
Yeah.
I need to find, and I need some tools, for find the best way for communicate with them. I cannot communicate with you the same way I communicate with Mike. I cannot speak with Rui the same way I speak with Mike and you, and vice versa. Becomes from the coach, how you approach the goalkeeper, which moments, which times, what is the right moment, before the game, after the game, when you give him the feedback, when you give him the information, pre-game, pretty much. It comes from the goalkeeper coach. You must find, you must have that feeling as a coach, the way you pass the information to them. You must pass the right information, specific information in a short of time. Because, play as a professional, you have a lot of things to do. It's not all in going the pitch and play.
Yeah.
You have all the work, behind the scenes that people don't see. And my advice in the way I do, is adapt to them fast as I can and find the best moments, for give the feedback to them and forgive the information what I want from them in the game. And
So
for
what's...
me, what most important, it's like the goalkeepers feel, can trust in myself and the goalkeeper coach, and the guys actually understand everything I want from them.
I love that. So what's your process, if you will, that like how do you establish that with a goalkeeper when you're approaching them? It's brand new. Let's pretend the relationship. How do you like to go about figuring out the best way to teach them essentially or coach them?
Listen, it comes natural. This is born with you, or if you don't have the capacity, for find the best way for communicate, I cannot blame the keepers.
Yeah.
You need to blame yourself. I cannot say if the goalkeeper don't have a good performance, I cannot blame the keeper. Because for this guy to be at the top level, I cannot blame that. It must come from me. I need to find the best way. As soon as the guys arrive on the training center, I saw, I need to analyze the goalkeeper, even without talk with him. I need to be alert. I need to be aware for everything about the lifestyle, about the relation with the teammates, the relation with the family, relation with the girlfriend or with the wife, with the closest friends, the relation between the different departments in the club, the sports science, the coach, the physical trainer, everyone on the training ground. That is my first approach. How I see the keeper interact with another one, with the other ones on the locker room, on when he walks on the training center, and after I need to analyze how he conduct himself. The relation between the teammates. If you have a good relation with them, if you have a good feedback with them, if when you speak with the other teammates, if the relation is good or not. When the head coach, when the physical trainer, with everyone speak with him, how we have this, interaction is not just go in the pitch and coach the goalkeepers. That is old school. That is when I start, like, a few years ago. In nowadays, it demands a lot. And one thing, especially, work with the top level goalkeepers, the guys know. The guys know if you are good or not. The goalkeepers know. And when the guys give you the credit to you, the guys give you a lot of credit if you have a good feedback with that. If the goalkeepers feel, you know what you're talking about. It's exactly the main point.
So it's not a matter of trying to reteach them everything. It's more so showing them that you understand them.
Exactly. Because listen, I cannot go teach these guys how to play football. I just need giving the guidelines. To them for performance every single games at the top level. Because I don't need one goalkeeper make a great game and after the next game doing so. No, I need the goalkeeper doing every 3 or 4 days, every week at the top level. And that has become like the most important thing for me. It becomes 2 things. One thing is like trust in the goalkeeper coach. Trust in the message you pass to him. He must trust in you. And the second one, and I be like saying all the time to you, is like concentration. One goalkeeper, he must be concentrated when he do his job. And when it comes that preparation to the game, every single day in a training session. By the moment he steps in a training center, by the moment he steps on the pitch, he must be concentrated 100%. No excuses.
I love that. So I want to talk about that really quickly in a second, because I think that's a really important one for viewers that we'll talk about. But really quick before we get there, I love how you phrase that. Your job is to make sure they're just getting to that level every 3 or 4 days, you're saying. So you look at it in segments. Like your philosophy essentially is, okay, I have, let's say, 3 days, 4 days to prepare them. Day 1, I'm doing this. Day 2, I'm doing this. Day 3, I'm doing this. Day 4, and I'm there. So you're not even concerned then as much with teaching them something new as, let's say, you are maybe just making one little change over the course of 3 or 4 days that can help them just get to the next level. Because we say it all the time, right? If you give an expert just a simple little shift, that's going to drastically change the results. So are you more focused on, let's say, that one thing from the last game that you want to hammer in on, or how do you prepare these guys to kind of get there?
Like I said, the details is very important, and many people think is, work on the big things, in the big scenarios. I work in the basis. For me, the bases, are very, very, very important. You must have the basis, what I call the day routines. The day routines as a goalkeeper is just handling the ball, how to dive in properly, how you execute the pass, the decision maker you need to do when you have the ball or don't have the ball. For me, the basis, it's the most important thing when I'm coaching a goalkeeper. Because on the game, what you need to do is make the basis perfect. And after, if you have a ball in the top corner, you must be prepared for that. But the basics, in the daily basis, you must practice the basic. We cannot go to big steps, if we have the basis. That for me is the most important. For one goalkeeper, what I want, I say, listen, when I speak about set the goals, I set my goals, with the keeper when start the season. I have meetings with them. And we say, listen, in the beginning of the season, my demands, when I say to the goalkeepers, it's very important to set their goals. As a short, medium, and long term, I just give an example. As a short term, when I set the goals and you compromise with the goalkeeper, it's like this. Okay, our short goal is like go to the next game, okay, and doing the basics perfect. We cannot finish the game without someone say it's the fault of the goalkeeper. The mistakes is going to come in. Unfortunately, yes.
Hmm.
But we must be prepared for do the basics correctly. That is the first step. When I speak with the goalkeeper, I say all the time, we go for the clean sheet. Do you want to achieve the clean sheet? Maybe yes, maybe not, but we want to work for that.
Yeah.
Short target. Boom. It's like go to the game, have a good performance. If you can have a clean sheet, perfect. And after you go, we set like blocks of games. The season, I just give an example. Last season is like 54, 55 games. You go by blocks. When I look to the calendar, we set blocks of games. Can be a block with 4 games, can be a block with 6 games, can be a block with 7 games.
Hmm.
How can you be a block with 10 games? We set goals. Okay, I look into the calendar, I see the opponents, I see the games you want to face, home game, away game, cup games, even with the national team. When the guys go, play for the national team, we set
Yeah.
goals. Maybe it can be a, a target with 7 games, and you go from that. Boom. How are we going to do in these 7 games?
Hmm.
In the long term, can you win a competition? What we can do for win a competition? Can be the championship. Can we champion? Can we win the cup? Can we win the Super Cup? And that is the goals we set. And I'll be honest with you, we don't win every single season, but we are very close to win.
Yeah. I love that you said that too, because it's kind of how we do things here too, right? Where it's like we always do a 365-day target with the athletes we work with on the mental side. So that way it gives them a focus for the end of the year. And then depending on the sport is how many days or weeks we break their goals down into short-term wise, right? So a football player, I'll say it for viewers, a European football player, a soccer player, for us, it's easier to do weekly targets with them because they usually only have 1 or maybe 2 games a week, right? For hockey players that might have 3 or 4 games a week, we usually have to do within a 4 or 5 game span. For basketball players, same kind of thing. For NFL players, it's different. But the point is, those weekly goals, like you're kind of saying, are what allow them to get the long-term year goals, right? Where if you get the clean sheet in this one game or you go into the game just by mastering the basics, you do that 20 times, let's say in a year, you're going to get to that big picture target. It's very simple. It's just so many times we run too quickly. Like there's one player that we work with, well, multiple, but one of them was saying a couple of years ago, he goes, I want to get a contract that's X amount of dollars. I said, great, that's your long-term goal. What do we need to start doing right now? And for him, it was, I need to practice my 3-ball shooting. I need to do the ice bath, and I need to make sure to do my 8 hours of sleep every night. I need to get those things because if I do that, to your point, I'll be at my absolute best for the team, and then the team will be able to win because of, part of my contribution. But I love that because I think, especially, with today's athlete, or even just in general, people are often way too many times not slowing down to focus on things, right? And that leads me to my next point. You have this amazing routine before a performance that you do with your goalkeepers. I'm going to let you tell the story on how you do it. And I want you to tell our viewers what you do, even from how you embrace them before a game and pull them close to you and so on, because I think this is important, and it's focus, right? It's concentration. So let's talk about that. So you've done all the work now throughout the week. Now it's a game day and it's right before the performance. Tell us what you do with your goalkeepers.
Listen, okay, like, give an example, the day preparation.
Mm-hmm.
One example with Hugo is, he likes prepare the analysis of the game, the opposite team. He likes to do 2 days before the game.
2 days.
2 days before the game.
Okay.
He likes to see the image of the opponent team, and right, before go to the warm up, he just want to go for the short specific information. As soon as the lineup from the opposite team comes out, he likes that. That's it, and he's ready to go. In the warm up, it's very short, and I tell you, the warm up, I don't communicate too much with them. Because it's the day game, and I think on that day you cannot, in my opinion, give too much information to them.
Yeah.
Everything you must, take from that game is before. On the day game, start to warm up, the goalkeepers are ready to go. I feel very comfortable. You know what? Because I know exactly what the guys do on that day's preparation to the game.
Mm-hmm.
With Mike, I analyze, 3 days before the game. almost like a two in one. He likes analyze his performance in the last game,
Hmm.
and he likes to see what he comes to the next game. And before the game, nothing about information from the opposition team because he's already have everything done and he just boom, ready to go. With Rui, I find the best way, for give the information to him is like, on the breakfast.
Mm.
It's the time of the day. Depends if the game is at night or in the afternoon. At the breakfast time is the best time for him receive the information. That is what I find by myself. And when I give him the information at that time. The good thing, and I do with all of them, before go to the pitch, my own information to them is like this: be focused, concentration, concentration. Because what you need one goalkeeper receive all the information, he practice the days before the game, prepare to that game, and my job is done. My job is done in that point of view. What I want from that point on is just with them. Because I don't play. The goalkeepers are the one who go to the pitch. I must prepare them. The information is clear. The information is passed to them. They are the ones who are going to put in practice. And what I want from them at that point, because all the information is delivery, all the information the guys receive, just go to the game and focus. Concentration. That is the words I say to them.
I love
And
that.
so far, I've been succeed with that.
And that's where you said you grab them and you even like pull them close to you and you say it, right?
Listen, Matthew, what I have one philosophy, I use, for all these years, and I think I'm going to use that
Hmm.
because, like I say, it's very important to set the goals. And one thing I say to all of them is like, okay, this is one journey. You're going to start, with us this season. And I say to them, listen, in my opinion, I'm the guy drive the train.
Mm.
I'm the guy drive the train. When you go on the train, you have a straight line, correct?
Hmm.
And I say to them, wherever you pass in front of us, we just keep going. We don't going to look to the right. We don't going to look to the left. We go one example from Vancouver to Toronto. We
Hmm.
know it's a straight line. We don't care about nothing. We don't care about if it's raining, we have snowing, or if you have sun, it's too hot or too cold. No. Our journey starts in the first day when you start working with me on that season. And we have like 200 and something training sessions. We know we're going to have like between 50 and 60 games a season.
Mm.
We don't care about nothing. We're just going to focus, all that goals. I say to you, short goals,
Yeah.
medium goals, and long goals. We just follow that line, straight line. Everything is comes in front of you. We just smash. We just smash. We don't care about no one. We respect everyone, but
Yeah.
nobody can interfere in our work, in our job. We just set one line and you see, we go together. That is why when before the kickoff, when the guys are in the tunnel, I just go to them, grab the face, look at them, eyes in the eyes, just one word: concentration, concentration. We are set to go.
I love that. It's so I know it sounds like a little thing. That's so important because it helps them just shut out all the noise, right? And it's funny, like so you do it that way. We give for our athletes on the mental side, we actually have an audio track they listen to and it helps them breathe, calm down, and all that good stuff. But it's like I think athletes sometimes forget the fact that going into a game, like you ever hear when people say don't think in a game?
Yeah,
That's bullshit, right? Like I hate to say it, but it's a truth. Like you have to be understanding what to focus on. You need to be concentrated. You can't sit there and not think. That's impossible. What that's really saying is all the preparation you've done now, don't hold back. Go all out. So for some guys, like there's one player that we work with, and his big thing at the top level is it's like, dude, you've done all the preparation. You need to focus on attacking all game long now. When you get the ball, you shoot it. When you get to a player, take them on. When you get this, go. But it's like attack, 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 attack. And that's his trigger, like yours, concentration. Some guys, it's like, hey, you need to make sure you're focusing on using your speed and you're using energy every single time. But the point is, when you focus somebody like that before a performance, that's really how you activate everything you prepared for throughout the week, right? Just going into it and hopefully the game works the way it does. No, you got to focus on what you want, right? And I love that. And I think that's something that's often missed because so many times we believe that performances are routine, but you know as well as I do, like you need to fight for that every single day if you want someone to fight for you, right? So it's an interesting spot for that and it's an interesting point. But to pivot a little bit, now we want to get into some, we'll call it story time stuff for you. So let's start with this. A lot of people that we've been talking about this interview on, we're just interested to know what it's like to work with a man like Jose Mourinho. I want to start, Nuno, with first how you even got into, we'll call it his staff, because I know for you, you were, when I first met you, you were a bit more of a journeyman. You were figuring your stuff out. And then you had a rapid uptake and went to where you wanted to go. So tell us a little bit first about how you even got into his staff with Tottenham. Did you know him beforehand? How did that go? And then we can kind of, divulge from there.
Yeah, we are from the same city.
Mhm.
Jose was my coach when I started at a younger age, from 15 to 18 years old at the youth
Okay.
academy. And we met at that time. You know, After that, Jose he made his pathway as a coach. I do my pathway as a goalkeeper.
Mhm.
And after I finished my career, I started doing my diplomas and my courses. And they finish in one situation. One day, he says, "Listen, uh, you want to join my staff?" And for me, it's a great opportunity. Work, in my opinion, the best coach in the world,
Mhm.
and that's it. You need to be ready. And that's it. If you're not
Yeah.
ready, if the opportunity coming, you're not ready, it's a change. What is
Yeah.
important? Be ready in the right moment, in the right place.
Yeah.
And of
I love.
course, you need to lucky on that. And I have a chance, work for him, and he's been fantastic. He's a coach, he's demand, and you must be prepared for all the challenges, he requests from you. But at the end of the day, you know, what he wants from you is give your best. And if you give your best, you're ready to go.
Yeah. So is his philosophy too with you guys more so he lets everybody do their job and then you come report to him? Like, what's it like to work with a man like that?
And like I say, he's exigent. It demands from you, and what you need to do is just be focused, because he's the head coach, and you have
Mm.
different, people work for him: physical trainer, assistant coaches,
Hmm.
match analysts, goalkeeper coach, and so on. And he likes to control everything.
Hmm.
Ask the questions, ask the right questions, you want the right answers, and it's a challenge every single day, and you must be prepared for that. His age is in, he wants from you the best, you know,
Yeah.
and that become a challenge for you. Every single day you must challenge yourself because you must be ready to his demands, and that's it.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I know we only see what we see on TV and hear what we hear in media. But there is one thing I know from speaking with you that's true that I think a lot of people neglect sometimes. There's one scene in the All or Nothing in Tottenham that was shown, and I think Jose was talking to a player, and he goes, because of my brand, I can help you get to that next level as well. I think some people misunderstood that as if he was saying something to some degree where it's like, oh, well, it's because of me. What it really is, and you can tell, and I know from even speaking with you, that's truly a man who wants to see the people around him win as well. And what's interesting about that is I think a lot of times it's seen more so as ego, even with some of these other top coaches like a Pep or some of these individuals, right? It's something where it's oh look, they just think the best of themselves when really from understanding with you it's more so I want everybody to raise their level as well. That's a bit of a principle we work on with a lot of the athletes we talk to where it's you need to have such a high standard that the people around you are also performing to that standard as well. Can you speak on that at all on what that's like with a man like Jose Mourinho and what maybe you've learned in working with a man like that?
Yeah, because like I said to you, he's a winner.
Mm,
His resume, his CV, he speak by himself.
mm,
And he's a winner. He want the people around him with a winning mentality.
mhm.
And a winning mentality, or you're born with that, or you don't born with that. you
Yeah.
know. And if he invites someone for work with him, first of all, for me, it's because he believes, that person have the winning mentality like him.
Yeah.
And after, like I said to you, is a challenge every single day. You cannot switch off. You must be on all the time. You must think. The next game is the next game, not because it's the next. It's the one you must win because he's a winner, and
Mhm.
he knows exactly what you need and what he wants from not only for the players. He knows what he needs from the people who work for him for winning,
Yeah.
and that is kind of like energy. It brings to you, and you want to pass to you as a member from the staff, and that is a kind of energy he wants from you pass to the team
Hmm.
for winning games. That's it. Is a winner.
Yeah. I love that. One thing I wanted to ask, it just struck me as you were talking about that. So to go back on you for a sec. So Lille, Tottenham, AS Roma. Can you tell us a little bit about what the difference in pressure was like within each of those teams? Obviously, Lille's going to have a different pressure than Tottenham will, which will have a different one than AS Roma. Let's start with Lille. Tell us a bit about that for you as a coach and even the goalkeepers.
Lille, French league, like you say, is three different clubs and three different leagues and
Mm,
three different cultures. And like I said before, you need to adapt to them, not the
yes.
clubs need to adapt to you. You need to adapt to the players. You need to adapt to the keepers and all that. And Lille, it's a club. When I arrived there, it's a club, kind of middle of the table,
Hmm.
and step by step we built something big. And for be honest, I feel a small piece of that puzzle help, build something from that club. And today, is one of the best teams
Yeah.
with a solid basis in the French league. And every single seasons, because PSG is the big team in France. But when I was there, we finished in second place. 1 year after, Lille won the league, and it's very normal now. See Lille in the top four
Mm,
teams in the French league. It's a club, give all the conditions, for you be happy and feel a professional every single day with a great atmosphere. French culture, in my opinion, in terms of football, it's fantastic. It's an open game, a
mhm.
lot of transitions. I adapt, to that, completely different from Portugal. And it was a pleasure for me, work in the French league.
Mm,
The pressure is not the pressure for win the league every single seasons, but
yeah.
the pressure is on, because after you're doing well, the people expect, at the minimum, you match the same level,
Mm,
be at the same position. After that, we went to Tottenham.
mm,
Tottenham, different pressure, different culture. England, different football. Premier League for me, one of the best leagues in the world. The best players, the best quality of football. Not because only the English players, only because also different players coming from everywhere. Everyone you want to play in the Premier League. A
yeah.
very open game with a great energy. Same thing with Tottenham. It's a club don't win a title, but always in the top level. It's a club try always winning one trophy here, one trophy there, through the
Mhm.
cup, Carabao, something like that. It's a pleasure to work that, with a great structure. You have the best facilities I saw ever in my life. Fantastic conditions, to work. Training center, one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
And there in Rome is a culture, and the culture in the passion from football, completely different from France and from England. Italy, is a little bit like in Spain and Portugal, Latina culture.
Yeah.
Roma, big club with a fantastic atmosphere. The supporters, the stadium, sold out every single games. Um, it's a team is not familiar with winning
Yeah.
the league, but we won a trophy to the club, and that is an amazing experience. The quality of the football. in my opinion, is completely different from the other two countries. Like you say, in Italian, a lot of tactics,
Hmm.
teams very well organized, how to defend very well. It's in my opinion one of the best leagues in the world also, and for me, if I can describe, is a great passion. That people have in Italy from football.
Yeah. Would you say compared to Tottenham and Lille, it was almost like an unmatchable type of passion you saw, like compared to the other two teams? Like, what would you say about that?
No, it's different kind of passion, but maybe because I'm Portugal, like I say, I have that Latino blood. It touch more in us. Is look like more like you go to the war.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other when I can compare from France or England, of course, we want to win also. But over there is like something more. It looks like the rival. Every single teams, you have that kind of rival. When it's not only, in my opinion, just football. It comes another things attached to that. Even the city. Of Rome. Be proud of your city. Be proud of protect. I think, in my opinion, it comes also more than just a game of football.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you say that because so you look across the different leagues, right? Like the French league, it's it's much it's much different compared to, let's say, obviously, but an English Premier League, where an English Premier League is it's a lot more white collar, right? Like in a sense where it's corporate, it's very business focused, it's very KPIs and numbers and driven. Whereas when you look at like the Portugals and the Italies and the Spains, even, it's a lot more blue collar with their fans, right? With fans that come from a place that they don't have a whole lot, but they do have a heart. And
Yeah.
the thing that's, you look at, not that they don't have that in Tottenham or the rest of the Premier League, but it's funny. So when I was there last year, when we were speaking and connecting, and we went to go see Roma Spezia, just seeing the Spezia fans that were close to us in the game, branched off in that little tribune there, it was interesting because the fact that you have fans there who you could feel their emotion from what they were feeling in the middle of the game, and it's unmatchable in that sense because you have these individuals and people who are genuinely there to pour what they have, which is more so their heart and not much in money in that sense. And it's interesting to see that kind of dynamic in a fan base because I'm sure, like you've seen and expressed to yourself before, there's a lot more of a responsibility to the supporters than there is in different clubs, right? And looking at that, it's funny because coming back to it in full circling, like that plays on the psychology of a player way more than anything else would. There's more of an attachment to a team and there's more of a responsibility. Did you feel that as a coach?
Yes, yes. Play at Olympico and coaching at Roma, the pressure is huge. Just
Yeah.
because, like you say now, is the game don't start on the day game, and that game don't finish on the day game. That game start, in the week.
Hmm.
The people feel that energy,
Yeah.
you know. And after the game, you still feel that energy.
Hmm.
It's more like I said to you, and you are completely right. It's more than the game.
Yeah.
It's more than the game, and it's the culture, and that is why it gives like the Italian league, especially in Roma, the passion, the fans and the chemistry, and that becomes a huge pressure.
Yeah.
For myself and for my keepers, the way I like to call, it's fantastic.
Hmm.
Because that becomes a responsibility. But by the moment you give everything you have, and the people feel you give everything from yourself, the people understand that, and,
Yeah.
and the people say, the fans are happy when you give everything from the bottom of your heart to this game, and when
Yeah.
you put everything, on the game, and when you give everything you have, like you say, in terms of psychology, in terms of courage, brave, responsibility. in concentration. The people completely understand, and the people are with you. I feel, we feel the people in Rome, the fans and the supporters are with us, all the time.
Yeah, it's true. And even too, when you guys had your exit the way you did, which that's a completely other story, but you could see the fans in the way they felt, right? And it's interesting because majority of our athletes are North American, NBA players, NHL, NFL, all that. And I've been to all those games, but I'll tell you. So I didn't return to Italy and actually get to see a game until last year, April 2023. My wife and I went to go visit my sister-in-law who lives in Switzerland with her boyfriend. And we said, you know what, because we're so close, let's go see an Inter Milan game. And it was Inter versus Fiorentina. And I'll never forget this. So when I went and played for Cosenza briefly, way back 2012, and we only had about 500 people there in a preseason game at the very most. The 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 whistling of a fan, even though there was only 500 of them, you could feel it though. Like there was a different feel. And it's funny because I'll never forget that. I'll admit it. I was scared when I went and played there. It was very scary. It was very intimidating. Being a Canadian goalkeeper, going over there, not knowing much about the culture, just a dream, and then actually being there, it was different. And I'll never forget this because, again, I've been to the NBA games and they put on a fantastic show and a fantastic entertainment. NFL fans, same thing. Hockey fans, same thing. But when I got to return last April to watch Inter Fiorentina, I will never forget this. We're sitting in the San Siro and the Fiorentina goalkeepers run out. And that same gut-wrenching feeling I got of the whistles and the boos from the Inter fans towards the Fiorentina goalkeepers. I tell athletes that we work with this all the time. It is until you experience it, you will never feel it and never be able to understand it. It's a different level of emotion that you feel when you're in those stadiums compared to anywhere else in the world. And I'm not just saying this because I'm Italian. It's my own personal experience that I've had. Right?
And this is our job, prepare
Yeah.
them, prepare the athletes, prepare the, even this is North America, basketball, American football, soccer or European football. Our job is prepare them and for
Yeah.
that atmosphere, Like I said, when the goalkeeper and the player walks in the pitch, just enjoy,
Yeah.
because, the way you prepare yourself, the pre-match and the days before the game, you must feel like 100% ready to go. And I
100%.
think the pressure it's good, when I play and now when I'm coaching, I like the pressure. I
Yeah.
like to be in the stadium with 80,000 people than be a stadium with just 1,000 people.
Yeah.
We must be prepared for that. And I think when you succeed, the reward is amazing. That is why we're working for.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. I say this to my brother all the time. There's so many stressors that go in our company, but it's funny. We all have our point of pressure that we all enjoy and we love, right? Doesn't matter. Like some days we're gonna say, I hated this day, but then you reflect a week later and it's like, ooh, I really felt alive when that was happening, right? So Nuno, if you had to leave everybody with just one thing before we let you run, main message, sum it all up, what do you got?
Listen, I just use this for myself. It's like I believe in work, I believe in concentration, I believe in positive energy, and I believe these three things together, you can achieve anything you want.
I love
For
that.
me, is the main point.
Yeah.
Hard
Hope.
work, be
Yeah.
focused, set a goal, and you're ready to go.
I love it. So positive energy, concentration, hard work.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
And you're ready to
Nuno.
go.
Yes, that's it. Well, I was going to say, this was fantastic. Um, we're definitely going to have you on when you do get your next job too, to make sure that you can share more with that. Right now, you enjoy your time off, enjoy your family, enjoy your downtime to reflect. And thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This was great.
Matthew, thank you so much. I want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you special to you. And
Of
I
course.
wish to everyone the same for me. and what is happening is the moment, and I enjoy, this moment, right now, with you. Okay,
I love
thank
it.
you so much for the
Thank you,
invitation.
Nuno.
See you soon.